Malu Guerrero Lee, the case between me and the FBI. The case between me and the FBI, Malu Guerrero Lee.
How many innocent Americans are wrongly accused or are in prison because they signed a confession under duress? I don't know, but if my experience is any indication, there can be many. In March of 2006, two FBI agents, a man and a woman, went to visit me in my office in Bakersfield. The first question the man asked was, "Did you live in New Orleans?" I answered in the affirmative. That was the beginning of the most stressful and draining 6 hours of my life that spanned in that office conference room that afternoon to late in the evening in my house. What did these FBI agents want from me? I'll take you back to 7 months earlier in August of 2005. Category 5 Hurricane Katrina made a landfall in southeast Louisiana, where New Orleans is located. My house was situated just across the Mississippi River from the downtown area, and it was up for sale since my family and I already had moved to Bakersfield for work 3 months earlier. In the aftermath of the hurricane, a FEMA agent suggested that I apply for a federally funded disaster assistance since I owned a house in New Orleans, and I did. At the time, I didn't know if my house was left standing or not, and also there were no satellite images available at the time. As you may recall from the images you saw on TV, the whole New Orleans area was underwater after the levee broke. Many people died, and those who survived were left homeless. Houses were destroyed, abandoned, or were simply unlivable. Meanwhile, the Red Cross set up a call center in Bakersfield to assist Katrina disaster victims. In haste, and also maybe because of the high demand for workers, the Red Cross didn't do its due diligence to research the background of the applicants. In short, every person who applied got a job. In the words of the male FBI agent, people started coming out of the woodworks. What he meant by that was the Red Cross hired shady characters. As it turned out, the call center agents filed false claims pretending to be Katrina disaster victims and used fake names and addresses and defrauded the Red Cross by a large amount of money, or in the order of millions. But what did these people have to do with me? In a cosmic improbability, I just happened to apply for a FEMA assistance and was living in Bakersfield. In the convoluted logic of the FBI, I was also guilty of fraud by transitivity. Thus, on that fateful day in March of 2006, I vigorously and relentlessly defended myself against the male FBI agent who repeatedly insisted that I sign a confession. He employed dirty interrogation tactics like coercion, intimidation, and verbal threats. And he even said that he and the other agent would leave and let me be if I only signed a confession. He did his best to break my spirit and make me surrender and admit to a crime that I never committed. However, I refused. I refused because I knew I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything illegal or illegitimate. As my own lawyer, I argued that I applied for FEMA assistance in good faith and it was not a crime to live in the same city as the fraudsters. 6 hours later, I was able to convince the two FBI agents to accept the 10-page handwritten statement that I wrote right in front of them. As I walked them to the door, I commented that the conduct of the interview was prosecutorial and unjust, and that the behavior of the male FBI agent was dishonorable and tyrannical. At this point, the female agent spoke for the first time. She turned to me and said, "I believe you." The male agent, he just walked away and then flippantly said, "I'll get back to you." Well, he never did. That was the last time I saw him and ever heard of him and from him. Days, weeks, and months passed, and I was still deeply troubled by what happened. If I learned anything from this experience, it's that many people are probably languishing in jail because they succumbed under pressure during interrogation. I would be in the same position if I didn't have the presence of mind, the determination of a bull, and the tenacity of a honey badger. But never in my wildest dreams did I ever envision that these three qualities were essential in settling the case between me and the FBI. Madam Toastmaster,